All right, for gun control advocates, the front page of today's New York Daily News says it all in just 3 words. Shame on U.S. But if you're reading it quickly, some could read that as shame on us. The second headline reads, assault weapons bill is dead. That's a bill banning more than 100 kinds of firearms, including some semi-automatics and semi-automatic rifles. Democratic leaders pulled it, saying it didn't have the votes to pass the Senate. There is still a chance, though, it could get introduced as an amendment. But no doubt, it's a defeat for gun control on the gun control front. So we've got a panel to talk about all of this. Radio and TV personality Rolanda Watts, who once hosted her own syndicated TV talk show, and it was one of my favorites. And there's David Bergno, who is from Newsbreaker with David Bergno, and then radio talk show host Ben Ferguson. I haven't spoken with you in a long time. Good to see you again, Ben. And Tiffany Henry, a therapist and relationship expert. After these topics, I think we're all going to need some therapy after this. So, Ben, you heard about all of this with gun control after Aurora, after Newtown. It was thought there's a gun control ban is going to go through Congress, and or possibly sweep through Congress, and then the assault weapons ban, and then also a universal background check. Support appears to be waning.
Well, and I think this is one of those things where we should learn from this in the past. And what Dianne Feinstein, even the president, should have done was look at their own party and say, are there enough Democrats that will even vote for these broad-reaching measures? And the answer is, honestly, no, there's not. And they should have spent more time working on maybe just background checks or mental health issues and looked at actually the prosecution of crimes of those that commit gun crimes. Because right now in this country, you get about 4.3 years if you use a gun in a crime, including pulling the trigger and you miss. That's where they could have made real headway. They didn't do it, and it's because they wasted so much time on something they couldn't even get done with their own party.
Well, Rolanda, he said sweeping. Many people don't see it as sweeping.
Well, you know what, this is a situation where we have 6-year-old children who are getting shot. Why do people need these guns that you use on a battlefield to begin with? And I think that, you know, it's such a tough issue. Responsibly, people who are into hobbies, that's one thing, but these power weapons and the fact that you can slaughter so many people, we have to do something. We have to keep this ball in the air. I'm not quite sure what the answer is, but we have to do something. And I applaud the politicians who are fighting it.
David, I know, but it seems that nothing's going to happen with it. There was so much emotion, especially after Newtown.
Don, set aside how you feel on the issue. The Democrats need some chutzpah. If you're not going to stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. I mean, Harry Reid looked weak yesterday when he stood in front of the camera and, you know, almost conceded, well, we just don't have the votes. Well, go out and get them. If that's what you feel for and you feel strongly about it, then make it happen. I'm sorry. You can fault the Republicans for their views, but at least the Republicans will fight until the end for something they believe in.
All right, Tiffany, I promise I'm going to let you get in, but we're going to have to move on to a different subject because I do want to get this in. You know, for the press conference in Israel, our time is cut short here. I want to talk about an online question from Jada Pinkett Smith, the actress married to Will Smith, getting a lot of heated answers. The actress says she is not pointing fingers, but she is pushing buttons when she talks about white women on the covers of black magazines. Pinkett Smith posted this question on Facebook. Here it is. She says, if we ask our white sisters, who tend to be the guardians of the covers of mainstream magazines, to consider women of color to grace these magazines, should we not offer the same consideration to white women to grace our covers? Should women extend their powers to other women simply because they are women? To my women of color, I am clear. We must have something of our own. But is it possible to share in the spirit in which we ask our white sisters to share with us? And then Pinkett Smith posts these mock covers, Queen Latifah on Cosmo, and then Charlize Theron on Essence. What makes Pinkett Smith ask the question? She says she wants to open the door to new possibilities. Okay? Tiffany, as a woman of color, what do you make of it?
Thank you for noticing, Don. Well, I actually think that Jada brings up a very good point. And of course, magazines should be more inclusive. But you have to remember that it's going to work both ways. If you're going to advocate for diversity in mainstream magazines, you're going to have to advocate the opposite and just have it be, you know, across the board. You can't ask for one and not the other. So, you know, I think she raises an interesting point. And it's something to consider. And I actually applaud her for starting this conversation.
Well, guys, I'm going to let the women get in first because they are talking about women's magazines. But Rolanda, if you even a man can thumb through a mainstream magazine, and a man of color, and I cannot see myself for page after page after page. And I imagine it's the same for women of color. So, and there aren't as many magazines geared toward people of color, especially women of color. So what do you make of this?
Don, if you're Asian, Latino, or black and you stand in front of a magazine stand, you wonder if you even exist in this country or this world. And that is the reason historically that magazines like Jet and Ebony and Essence were created, to address our beauty, to talk about our issues, so that our children could see themselves on the newsstand as well and dream of being on a cover. Essence is specifically for that. And I think a lot of black women would have a big issue if a white woman was on that cover. And Jada does bring up a very provocative question: why doesn't it go both ways? But the reality is, and the history shows us, that we have needed magazines like Essence to know that we exist and to have our issues and all of our hues examined.
David, before I get to you, someone wrote in, we looked at some of the posts on the Facebook page, and it said, one woman said, I wouldn't buy Essence with a white woman on the cover. David?
Yeah, maybe so, but Don, look, here's the thing. I think she brings up a good point. I think people would continue to buy it, but she's not saying do away with black women on the cover. She's saying share the cover. You know what? We got a black president. I grew up in Louisiana. I saw racism firsthand. But at the end of the day, I think both magazines are great, but why not? I think it's a great idea, and far be it for me to tell a woman she's got a bad idea.
I would like to volunteer to be the first white guy, random white guy, to be on the cover of any one of these magazines. I mean, if that can help us move along, you can put me on that cover of that magazine, and I will be an advocate for that moving forward. I mean, you and I could do it together. Think about that. We could just be standing there going, white guy, black guy, I'm from Memphis, I can talk civil rights.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
If we're on the cover of a magazine, Ben, you and I together, I think that may create other questions.
The rapture?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll be on the cover of Out magazine.
Well,
Maybe
I
that.
love how you say that on my third anniversary
Black,
today.
gay
That's
guy.
perfect, you know?
Go ahead, Rolanda, you were saying?
The bottom line is, I would love to see a situation where all women, you know, it's about the content of the magazine and the character of women, so beautiful, no matter what color we are. We have so much in common. I don't care what color we are.
And
women
that's
are
Jada's
women,
point.
and together we can change this world.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll hurt so.
That everyone should have the
All
same
right,
opportunity
to this
be on
panel,
these
that's
magazines.
it. Can't we all just get along? Because I got to get out of here. Thank you very much.
Do it.
We love you, Don.
I love you guys, too. Thank you. Thank you. Ben, I'm going to take you up on that. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Rolanda. Thank you, David. And thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Coming up, you know Dr.